Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by The Plain Truth, SX, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Mark Doxy, Jose, Jimbo, Gods, and Chocolate saying full panel at the beginning of a show. Good to have you all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hola.
Hello. So, I'm going to kick off with a bit of housekeeping. Any signs of gravity?
No.
No, hang on.
Nope.
Hold that pause.
I'm going on mute.
Any signs of curvature in that case then?
Nathan.
Any signs of curvature? Any at all? Any gentlemen? Curvature? Earth-based? Ranty, I'm talking to you.
We do have a conscientious objector on the panel. We need
Banana farm in Costa Rica.
You can't let it rest, can you, Anthony?
No.
You can't drop it.
I just wanted to hear him butter something, and he didn't do it.
Signs
Nah.
of curvature. I've
Mark's
got
way
some.
too cool a customer for you sometimes.
Banana farm in Costa Rica.
A banana farm's got... Oh, not banana curvature. Jimbo. Right.
Oh,
I
I'm
expect
sorry.
better. Earth-based. Right, I'm going to add you to the list now. It's not just Ranty. Any signs of axial rotation? Earth-based. Specifically, spherical, R-based. Yeah? Earth rotation. Anybody? Anybody?
Nope.
Just a few mutters.
Well, aren't we allowed to have a man-made creation like the axle of a car, which has axial rotation, and then simply extrapolate that out to the Earth and say that this is like that? Can't we just create something on Earth that's
Go
man-made?
ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Like the car has an axis, therefore the Earth's axis exists. Yes.
Yeah.
That
Right,
works. Yeah.
Right.
Well, my advice is if you're going to fire stuff into the air like bullets, arrows, and other stuff, don't count on axial rotation to move you out from underneath the object you sent up.
Yes, the irony that...
Does anyone do, though? That's the question.
Do they shoot straight up? I do. Lots of people do because it's fun.
No. I mean,
Back down. No.
yeah, that's what I mean. Does anyone actually shoot it up and expect the Earth to just move and they'll be all right because the Earth
Apparently,
moved?
99% of globe believers believe that should happen.
I suggest they start shooting up in the air and testing that out, staying
Well,
right where they are.
The prime example I have is the gentleman who fires up, and he's a glober, but he loves rifles and stuff. He fires a 50 caliber straight up. 1 minute and 50 seconds later, the bullet returns to the ground. He has to run for cover. At my latitude, if I shot a 50 cal straight up like that, it would move me and the gun 16 miles in 1 minute and 50 seconds. If I was at the equator, it should move me and the gun 30 miles out from underneath the bullet.
What the hell are
But
you
then,
doing with a 50
they're going to
caliber?
say, oh, frame of reference. Well, that same frame of reference with the gun firing horizontally, north to south, you have 1,200 yards in 1 second, and you're supposed to calculate Coriolis because of axial rotation of the Earth. But nonsense. There ain't none. So
Here's
if you
the
fire
irony
straight
that
up in the air,
the-
make sure your sneakers and your running shoes are tied on tight and run like hell.
Here's the great irony that the Coriolis effect actually debunks axial rotation, contrary to what most globeheads think. They're like, well, Coriolis. It's like, yeah, Coriolis is the undoing of a spinning Earth. So, yeah. The thing that scares me the most, Jimbo, is why have you got a 50 caliber? No answer to that question. Fair enough. Jimbo's a man to be feared.
So, Sly Sparkane is in the chat saying that nobody will take him on a one-on-one debate.
I'll
'Cause
jump
there's-
off so he can jump on. I don't mind. Everyone can hush and he can have a one-on-one with a.
Who did you say was in the chat?
I'll
Sly
jump off.
Sparkane.
He wants to join.
Boo.
I can
you
jump
want him
on
on?
if you
I'll
want
jump
to
off
come on.
happily and you let him on there. That's not no big issue for me.
Oh, I mean, that's up to him. He's in the chat.
Yeah, I'll wait
jump
till he
off, too.
decides if he wants to or, whatever. But that way the place will be saved for him. But he says he wants to come on, I'll bail and you can give him the slot.
Yeah, it's five spots willing to give up just for him to come in.
I've heard Sly saying many a time that I'm a sniper and a renowned sniper. I'd like to hear his proofs of that, actually, because all I do is
Make us 6 spots.
all I do is moderate this show. I have never sniped anybody on anybody's show ever. Apart
Oh,
from
what I'll do is I'll make it
all
easier
I
for
do.
him. I'll bail, watch the back door, and just see if he pops in.
Yeah, can I
all
just
I
ask,
do is
can I
remove.
just ask,
myself.
sorry to interrupt, can I just
See
ask
all
you on
in
the
a bit.
panel?
Hope he pops on. Let's see.
Am I the only one that's like a bit uneasy about things like 50 caliber weapons? I mean, I've got Mercury Messenger saying, "What's wrong with owning a 50 caliber?" But I mean, I'm a Brit. We rarely, if ever, see guns here. I mean, I've shot shotguns and things, clay pigeons and that, but ultimately, guns aren't common here. So 50 caliber guns definitely aren't. I don't think I've ever even seen one. Has anybody other than Jimbo ever seen a 50 caliber?
I've seen the experiment that he's talking about.
No, I mean in person, like actually got up close and personal with a gun that big.
I have.
No.
Who said that?
Me.
That
On
gods?
scalpel. I have.
I have Jose.
Aren't they terrifying? Just to use them.
They are scary.
That's what I thought. I'm not alone in this.
I didn't
knew
even
it.
use them. I hold it in my hands because of reasons. I was in the wrong place and there was a lot of weapons flowing around over in Puerto Rico. And it was really scary situation.
Yeah, I'm not alone in this. It's just even as if you ignore the fact of what it's capable of doing to the thing on the end of it, just the actual piece of equipment itself to use it. I've seen enough videos on 50 caliber weapons to know that they look terrifying. just to operate, I'd be crapping myself. But there we go. We're not familiar with guns here. Where did we get in the housekeeping? Axial rotation, I think. Any signs of a pressurized system next to a vacuum?
Nope.
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 Self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, based
Yeah,
on
Paul
a presupposition.
Paul Voigt claims he's got evidence to prove that, but so far, crickets. It's been
Not-
months and months.
Not in
and
the
months.
chat, is he? Is Paul Voigt there? It's quite late in the day for an Aussie. No, can't see him.
So I guess the answer to that question is no.
Any signs
guess
of
so.
Bill Miller? Anybody?
No.
No? What about the presupposition itself? Any signs of radius? Anybody got any proof of that offered to anybody yet? Anybody?
Nope.
No? Well,
Right, here we go. So Slice Arcane has said, so I guess none of the Nathan show will take me up on a one-on-one debate because they don't have any experimentation concluding Earth to be flat interesting, right? He can jump on. Let him
Listen,
jump on.
Sly, last time I went in for a one-on-one debate, you kicked me whilst on topic talking about the one question that I said you could not answer. You kicked me because I wouldn't accept that it was a mirage, according to you. So why would anybody go for a one-on-one discussion with you when you kick people for being on topic that are challenging your religious views and beliefs without evidence of your religious views and beliefs to support your position to be true? Why would anybody do that? What was that? Because you're a coward. Right.
And let's talk about my 1 foot observation as well. Yeah, whilst you're at it.
The one that's directly comparable to Soundly's over Lake Pontchartrain that makes it look like a basketball and how it doesn't look straight, how it doesn't look curved, Ranty. Is that the one that you mean?
That one, yeah, exactly. The one that he says I should be seeing.
Let's not bring up the curve calculator for that one, Ranty, because the ballers don't like the curve calculator on that one. But let's bring it up and show what it should look like.
All right, hang about. Wait a minute. How about the fact that when he did a live hangout with his friend Sean Hufford, and they agreed that with the image I provided to them, that we were seeing the mirror ball from 19 miles away. And when I asked them to do the curve calcs, they ended the show, the live stream, because they didn't want to show the curve calcs, which would have showed that the mirror ball was 45 foot above sea level when it should have been 170 foot beyond the curve.
That's what I'm saying. And he's asking people to go for a one-on-one on his channel. I don't think so, Sly. Get your ass in here and let's see what evidence you've got to prove the shape of the Earth, you idiot.
And if you don't want to do that, how about me seeing the Isle of Man from Wales? You can have a go at that one. I've not really promoted that much yet.
Or what about Blackpool Tower from Hoylake at 30 miles? Oh, where's the town of Blackpool, Riley? Well, why are we seeing the tower?
Exactly. Why are we seeing the love heart on the tower?
Because it's not a ball, Ranty.
Exactly. See, when we get the P900 modified, Anthony, oh, we're going to go out. We're going to be doing some smashing stuff with this.
Hey, wasn't it was?
The infrared filter. Stuff with it.
Hey, wasn't it was?
Infrared filter.
Just mute your watch page, my friend.
Come on, was not was. You know the answer to the rules now. Mute your watch page before you come in.
Sorry.
Okay. Anytime. Good to have you.
And you.
I got full
Have
panel.
you had a haircut yet, was? Not was?
No.
Is it still looking buffontish?
Looks a bit flat today.
A bit flat. No curves. There are no curves on this flat head. So, back to Sly. You're demanding that people go and have a one-on-one with you, right? Yeah, there's an open link. You can join just like Was Not Was did, and you can have the conversation right now, and we can see your evidence for the ball that you believe that we live on. Well, I know that you know that it's not a ball, but nonetheless, you're still there warrioring in chat like a faceless warrior. Well, no one listens to you anymore, Sly, because you're a liar. You're like Sean Hufford, a liar. Sean's a liar. You're a liar. You're a deceiver. You're an intentional deceiver. You're not misguided. Come on and present your evidence if you're so sure. Moron.
He'll never show. He'll never get on.
No, they just make their excuses now. Now they've got just a long list of excuses. Well, they're scared of the mute button, so you've got to go somewhere else. Well, they're scared that we're too aggressive. It's like, no, you guys know we're in the winning position and we have the upper hand, so we've got no need to go anywhere else. You guys can make all the excuses you like. You know, it's just pathetic. Everyone can see what's happening.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I perceive that the non-sequitur show is trying to get a push as the best debate, debate channel out there? Because I cannot just jump in there and ask questions to, they don't let any average Joe in the show, so why are they pushing it as the best show when this is the one where any average Joe like me can come in? And also the bigger names. Anybody can join. You guys seeing over here when Mick West came in and et cetera. You are going to be heard. If you have a claim, if you have proof, something to offer, please come in.
Indeed.
Shout out to
Shout out to who?
Isa Mahalski.
Oh, is Isa in? Yeah. Cool.
Isa, tomato.
Yeah, but that's the bottom line. There's an open door. So, Reg Rhetoric's the current one who's been doing this, saying you need to step away from your open bar that anybody can walk into and challenge any word I say at any point ever and come and do it at a different venue. And it's like Mick West made similar demands to this and he got a damn good backhand from me. Why are you demanding this? You don't have to join. Sod off is your alternative. I don't care if you join, Mick West. That was my attitude. If you don't want to join because you reasons, then go away. But Reds totally different story. Reds has called us out. It's like, okay, well, come and join then. What's your issue? Come and tell us. Oh no, you've got a mute button. So? What's your issue? Just come and tell me. Crickets. Oh, you're a coward. You don't want to go and fight him. No, I'll fight him any day, any time. I'm here all week. All day. Every day. What's
Nathan, what you've got to understand is when I've been in the debate share talking in the side chat, and then they've baited me from the side chat, but they won't give me a link to join the panel. So they do everything from this. They have the control of the actual show, and I'm trying to respond to them in the chat to get them to do comparisons and expect, about my work and stuff. And they deliberately make errors on purpose, and I have no way of addressing that because they won't give me a link to go in and be able to explain and literally show them up. I could destroy them in 20 minutes, right? But they won't do it. Join the panel right now.
When you get to the critical moment, he'll demand that you accept his version of the interpretation, and then if you don't accept it, he'll kick you on topic without swearing. He'll kick you. That's what he did to me. Bring up that curve calculator, Sly, and let's see how that mirror ball should not be seen, and we see it. And guess how little refraction there is at night time. Wonder why that might be.
Well, Sly's completely vanished from the chat. Like he
Nah,
hasn't
he'll
said a
be
word
lurking.
since saying, "Oh, so no one will debate me one-on-one," and we've gone, "Hang on." Number one, Anthony's already done that, and you kicked him on topic. And number two, you can join it anytime you like. There's a link right there. At the time we were saying it to him, there was a gap on the panel. He could have joined that instant. The link is public. So all these idiots that are like, "Oh, you're running away." It's like running away to where? An open field. Are you joking?
Which one?
Any hizzle.
See, look at that there. Ghost Flame 713. Let's just see how many subs he's got, because if he hasn't got any subs, then I'm not even going to respond to his message. But if he has, then I'll address it, because it's probably got meat on it. No, he's got no subs. So I'm not going to answer your message.
But it's all right, because I've got the little bitch to do my work anyway. When he actually finally got around to analysing the mirror ball from Barrowing Furnace, and when they admitted that it was the mirror ball, it was game over for them, because they were essentially saying it was flat as F, and that's why they ended and rounded up their own show. That's why they won't want to come in and talk about it. They've got to explain why I was seeing that entire mirror ball from 45 feet above sea level. That was to the top of the mirror ball. And that's just one thing.
Why are you seeing the mirror ball?
Why am I? Because it's flat. Yeah, exactly. Why are we seeing it, Sly?
Well, the reason I phrased it like that is because you don't need to give an explanation for why you just see something. It's just you're just seeing something. This is the problem the ballers have. So we see a building and go, "There's a building." And on, I think the debate was called "I Believe in a Sphere Earth," we had a guy on who was incredibly honest, and I said to him something along the lines of, "What explanation as a flat earther do I have to give?" And I had your picture of Baron Finesse on screen, Ranty. I was like, "What explanation do I have to give for this?" And he said, "None." So there's no observed phenomena. Hey, Southern Israelite, how you doing? Good to have you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
we can.
man.
Good to have you.
Thank you. I was studying an issue. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about a document I came across over the issue of whether the word level means flat. I was studying some stuff about the creation of the early pyramids and how they were able to develop a flat surface for the base of the pyramid. And I just want to see what you guys thought about it.
Yeah, go ahead. Sounds very interesting.
All right. Can I screen share, or do you want me to send in the link to the Google book to the link for the book?
Just stick it up on your screen. If you can screen share, that's great.
I can screen share?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, all right. So this is. Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yep, you're up. You're on.
All right. So this is the Pyramids of Egypt by a couple of Egyptologists, Iden and Edwards, page 9, and it's going through how the bases of the pyramids were originally created flat. And it says, it's on page 9, it says, workers had to level the area where the pyramid would be built. They dug trenches and filled them with water to act as levels. Pianners marked out the four corners of the pyramid and put tools and charms underneath, and foundation built from stone. So the way they were able to make the surface and the base of the pyramid flat is with a level. So, for a long time, I figured the level is the water reaching its own level proves the Earth is flat was kind of a weak argument. But I came across this document about how the original pyramids were made, and that seems to be a pretty strong argument that level does mean flat. And I'm just want to get some peer review on that and any criticism.
None. Level is flat.
So
Yeah,
that's all I had.
Level is flat. To assert that level can be curved is it's a contradiction in terms. So no objection. I mean, if I was being really fussy, I'd say, how did they ascertain that they used that level? How did they come to that conclusion? It just sounded like an assertion. I'm not saying that it is or that they've got nothing to back up that assertion, but on face value, it's how do they know that?
How did they know that the pyramids were used trenches? Is that what you mean?
No. How did they establish that they filled it with water and got a level that way?
They're Egyptologists, man. I don't know. I'm just going with what the scholars say.
Exactly. I don't disagree, or I'm not saying the guy's wrong, but ultimately it doesn't offer that information, i.e. how they came to that conclusion. But in either way, it doesn't change the water is flat argument. It is. Water does very much prove that the surface that we're on is flat. And yeah, you can pull me on it and say, no, we've got mountains, we've got valleys. Yeah, I'll agree. But basically, overall, it's flat as a pancake.
220-mile observation, Nathan. Can you believe that?
Yes, it's just amazing.
6 miles of curvature. It should have been behind if you live on a sphere, which we don't. And he was actually at a fairly level to level. So from his elevation to the elevation of the mountain ranges that he was looking at, they were comparables. They were sort of like the same height. So there should be no discrepancy with that then. It's literally just looking straight across, and he saw it with his infrared, 220 miles.
I wonder if the ballers, when they hear numbers like that something is being viewed at 220 miles away. I wonder, I mean, do they cringe when they hear that? Does it bother them? Or do they just automatically start preparing to explain it with refraction and superlooming and all this other crap?
Very good question. I'd like to see the chat response to it, actually. There's plenty of ballers in. Mercury Messenger or Mong Patrol or Dell Inquiry Weirdigan or Vinny. Just tell us what you think about these observations that are coming out. I'm intrigued to know exactly that. How do you react to something like that?
Yeah, it's
going to be. I think the next 12 months is going to it's going to be a lot of home truths coming home to these guys. Those ones that are holding on to the little ball. They're going to see a lot of this photography and stuff done in infrared. And there's going to be that much of it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are actually going to modify their own cameras. It doesn't have to be the P900 or whatever, P1000. They'll have just normal cameras that will be able to see miles and miles. And they are going to be like, okay, we're getting the point now. We're getting the point now.
Which does re-raise the question I asked Nathan about, which originally kind of like neutralized it just by saying, nah. But it raises the question, what is the purpose of that filter that they put on the lens? Why is it there? What is it supposed to do? And why is it there? Because it appears to me that it's a deliberate and intentional block to stop you from seeing through the atmosphere, possibly. I'm not saying it is. I'm asking the question, why is it there? Because it is possible that we can see further if that's not there. Therefore, it makes sense that they would hide it by filtering it out.
I have a question about that.
Yeah,
so
go.
can you take regular pictures with that filter still in there? Like, is there a way to turn the filter on and off?
No.
Or like, if you take that filter out, it's just infrared pictures?
No. It's like me with the P900. I have to get into the P900, remove the actual blocker. So there's an actual infrared blocker that's on the lens. So I have to take that out. Then when I put it back together again, I can actually put an infrared filter on the end of my camera, which then allows me to see in infrared.
But what's it filtering out in the first place, though?
It's stopping infrared and ultraviolet, I believe.
So what we need to do, Ranty, is get some before and after pictures. Take a picture of something that you know before you do it, and then take the same picture again after you take the filter out and see what it looks like.
Mate, I've got about 10,000 pictures on my computer. I can pick any you want.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because I mean, I'm being ignorant. I know that I don't know anything about these lenses or whatever, but I mean, it seems like an intentional, deliberate act to stop you from seeing something that might be useful to a flat Earth argument.
The
AP?
filters are there to balance the image, the blacks and whites, and the saturation of red, green, and blue. That's all it is.
But what does that mean in terms of a picture?
The customer wants a nice looking picture with balanced colours and balanced blacks and whites. That's all. That's the only reason why they put filters in or remove filters.
Mark, you're dead quiet for some reason.
Turn him up.
Did you hear what I said though?
Yes,
Not
I
really.
did. I did.
It's to balance the blacks, whites, the reds, greens, and blues. That's all it is. The customer wants to see a nice, balanced picture, and that's the way they manufacture it. There's no conspiracy in the way they manufacture digital images.
I knew there'd be an explanation like that. I didn't know, but instinctively it seems like there's going to be an explanation like that. That's why I was kind of indifferent to it, Anthony.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying that it definitely is, but it just seems interesting that there's a filter there that can be removed and then plug in. It just seems to be an intentional, like when they backwards engineer something and they make it so that you're getting less than what you actually could get. Like with cars, they down accelerate cars, don't they? With like programmable
them.
ECUs.
I know what you mean. Hey,
Yeah.
P, can you say something just so I can level you up?
He needs a haircut.
You guys convinced me the Earth is flat. Excellent job presenting your information and evidence.
Thanks, P. Anytime.
So does that mean that you now denounce the heliocentric model, P?
I renounce heliocentrism and ballism.
So are you asking for forgiveness for your previous sins in a former life?
I'm sorry, I thought the Earth was a sphere. I don't know. I was indoctrinated. I hope you can forgive me.
You're forgiven, P. You are the prodigal son.
He is talking sense for the first time ever.
It's such a shame that it's so in satire, though.
Do you remember when Wiggles did the same thing?
Yeah. I remember when Wiggles presented his maths on screen and not seen the video that was released just prior, and you said, "Get their maths back on that screen right now," and he didn't do it. That's what I remember of Wiggles.
That was funny.
I do remember that.
So where have you accounted for perspective in here? Gone. Off the screen immediately.
You can see his pointer moving over towards the X before you even finish the sentence.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Fun.
Well, we did ask a question in the last debate about what we're actually thinking we're going to see when we get this P900 modified. I think it was lots of ones and twos. I think the ones won.
Hey, I've got a question for you.
Flatties had the consensus, did they?
I believe so, yeah. I believe they actually believe, like we all do, that we're going to see, through that mirroring layer, hopefully.
I think I only saw one answer to Chocolate's question. I think it was Chocolate's question in regards to how does it make you feel when you see these sorts of images. And I think the only person to answer was Brenda, who said, "You're all idiots," basically.
What that?
That was her response. "We see these pictures, but you're all idiots."
Did you fold it?
So I can't concentrate. Someone's talking in the background.
Sorry, I'll just chuck it back. It's Mark. I'll just pop him on mute. Probably just stepped away for a sec. So yeah, Brenda basically said she sees the pictures, but we're all idiots. That was her response.
Which pictures?
It was Chocolate saying, "How does it make you feel when you see these ludicrously long range?"
Right. Okay.
I think it was Chocolate.
Yeah, when I said what's their reaction when they hear pictures taken at 220 miles away, and like somebody like Brenda will say, "Oh, we laugh at you because you're morons." And that's like, okay, that's nice. You can laugh, but that's still a picture taken from 220 miles away. Doesn't do anything for your argument, so you can keep laughing all you want. So
Can I just say that P-Mars has the whitest teeth on flat Earth?
It's just my webcam the way
No,
It
it's
makes
not.
everything. No, it is.
You've been well whited in your
Dude,
teeth. Come on, admit
no,
it.
my teeth are not very white. They're pretty normal colored. Like it. No, it's actually interesting how they the white teeth beauty standard is based on like Hollywood. It's like totally fake. Like teeth aren't supposed to look like that, and it's just like Hollywood people whitening their teeth, and then the masses watch it, the people on screen, and they try and emulate them, and they think whatever the people on the screen do is sexy or whatever, and that's how that whole white teeth thing became a fad. But truly, the Earth is flat. Bertrand Russell wrote in the Scientific Outlook that the scientific rulers will provide one kind of education for ordinary men and women, and another for those who are to become holders of scientific power. So clearly, within the own publications of the elite, they talk about how they will use science to basically control other people's behaviors, thoughts, and attitudes. So we can't trust science.
So what's your position on the shape of the Earth,
So,
MP?
so does that mean every time you came in here and said that science disproves us and makes us look like idiots, are you denouncing that? Are you...
No, he's winding you up. Of course, he's a baller.
I never said science disproves you guys. Never once said that because I've always believed we live in a scientific dictatorship, and I've never been a fan of science.
Actually, I'll agree to him saying that in the past. I have heard him say that.
But science isn't our enemy, P. So it's scientism that's our enemy. The made-up science, pseudoscience, is our enemy. Because science is just a methodology for showing cause and effect. It's pretty simple and pretty limited, if I'm honest. But they've hijacked that term because it proves things and used that term science when they're doing non-science, pseudoscience, just asserting things, giving you a fairy tale and telling you how it works. They call that science, but it isn't. Science is actually on our side, believe it or not, which is the turnaround, which is why people like Sly and Reg Rhetoric and all these people, they won't come here anymore because we've figured out that science is actually on our side and not theirs. Quite the contrary to what they assert. And it's one of those, if you make your lie nice and big and say, we have science behind us, it makes your lie sound very plausible, but it isn't, because they're not backed by science at all.
I mean, in theory, science sounds, nice and benevolent and beneficial to mankind, but the problem is we got these psychopaths in power and they will use such things. So like in theory, science, yes, what you're saying is true, but in practice, it's money corrupts it and power, and science is used to manipulate people, to fool people, to lie to people, just like religion was in the past. And they both serve the same function, science and religion. It's about controlling people's behavior, their everyday lives, what they do. Like, in the past, they would say, don't have sex before marriage because you'll go to hell or something, right? Well, today they'll say, making this up. They'll say like, oh, don't have sex because the scientific studies show that blah, 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 right? Like it's the same. It's religion and science are used by the controllers for the same ends.
We're getting mixed
completely agree.
messages from you, P.
That's fairly standard fare from
It's
P.
the first time I actually sort of kind of agree on something that P. Mars is saying.
Oh, he does have his lucid moments.
I was going to say exactly that statement.
Very,
he has
very
his lucid
lucid
moments.
Because he's making sense right now. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is making a lot of sense.
Time he has problems with.
But you're not wrong. Heliocentrism, another branch of scientism, is absolutely a religion, P. So yeah, scientism, heliocentrism, these are just belief systems. No scientific backing. None.
I think the biggest scientific hoax they got going right now is this climate change stuff, which is what they're going to use to control our lives.
Totally.
Good man.
So you agree with the solar minimists?
I don't even know who they are, but I've read like they write about this stuff. I read their books. I read the books from the horse's mouth. They wrote the first global revolution book, which was written by the Club of Rome, a UN think tank. They talked about basically, in lack of traditional enemies to unite people, we've created the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, famine, and the like would fit the bill, and that all these problems are caused by mankind, and therefore mankind itself is the enemy. Like, they basically brainwashed to think that we are the enemy and we're gonna have to depopulate and all this
Dude,
crap.
you don't remember when Al Gore came out and said that we'd all be underwater in like 10 years? We
Yeah.
gotta pay
Yeah.
more taxes.
Well, to be fair, there have
That-
been, like, New Orleans has been under a lot of water recently, right? It kind of is happening, but the cause is not due to the amount of carbon that we actually. If you think about the claim about carbon being the issue, right? My supermarket, my major supermarket in my town, I took a picture on my phone. There was a sticker on, or a little card in the carbonated drinks soft drinks aisle, and it said, due to a shortage of liquid carbon dioxide or gaseous carbon dioxide, there is a shortage of soft drinks at the moment. And I thought, so really, there's a shortage of carbon dioxide, yet we're being taxed on that very one emission that the cars all use. Seems a bit contradictory to me. It seems a little bit hypocritical to say that there's a shortage on the one hand, but then charge us for using it on the other.
Yeah, it's 1984, isn't it? 1984
They
all
create
over.
they create the shortages.
Yeah.
They tell you something is scarce so that everybody's got to scrounge around, run around, and try to, hold on to it when they're hoarding it. That's what they do.
It's like the argument for petrol. There is no petroleum shortage. It's a renewable energy that we can use, but they tell us that it's a fossil fuel. It's ridiculous. But let's remember that fossils technically are stone.
Hey, Jimmy.
I found
how
it
you doing?
interesting when I was in California.
Good to have you.
I found it interesting when I was in California. We were looking for campsites to go to, and I was talking to my mom. She was talking about how a few years ago the county couldn't find enough funds to maintain the Forest Service area, so they raised the rates for your spots. If it was $45 a night, they raised it to $90. Well, lo and behold, they came up with the funds afterwards and said, "Oh, here are the funds that we said that we couldn't find before," but they kept the rates the same. They didn't take them back down. And now nobody knows, except for my mom and others maybe who were paying attention. And I said, Mom, you're the kind of person that needs to stand up and fight the system, because everybody else is just thinking that they're supposed to be paying $90 when they don't understand what the whole shell game was. So they create the need, and then they get what they need, and then they reduce the need, or then they level the need back up so that it's all equalized, and they still are making money off the masses.
And
I just want to
it
add
never
one thing
benefits us. It always benefits them.
I was going to say it's a very psychopathic trait to recycle. So there's a good chance that it may be 100 years, it may be 50 years, but in a given period, that will happen again. Exactly the same.
None of you believe that pollution is a problem then?
Yeah, pollution is a problem. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that.
Pollution is a problem, but the problem is the opacity of the particles that are in the atmosphere. It's not to do with. Think about this, right? When you have trees that are in high pollution areas, them trees grow bigger than all the other trees that are not in high pollution areas because they use the carbon dioxide. The real pollutant in the atmosphere is the nitrogen dioxide that the cars are emitting, not the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the food that plants use. Nitrogen dioxide is the one that's given us all the problems, but we're not being charged or taxed on nitrogen dioxide. We're being taxed on carbon dioxide. But even if we were being charged on nitrogen dioxide, the nitrogen cycle is still something that's organic anyway.
What about all the plastic that gets washed up on the beach, though, aren't they?
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about emissions. Or I was. Maybe you are right. The plastics on the beaches is a real issue everywhere, and we should single-use plastics are a problem. And I totally and utterly agree. However, there are organisms that do eat them, but we're not being told that. We're just being told. But ultimately, the plastics problem is a real problem, and it does need addressing. But it's not to do with flat Earth.
If I look at my waste bin, predominantly it's all packaging.
Yeah,
packaging that doesn't degrade quickly enough.
Yeah.
But 90-something% of the scientist people say that pollution is causing irreversible damage to the environment.
Yeah. And like I said, look up the carbon cycle, look up the nitrogen cycle. You'll see that they're totally organic processes that are not causing the problems that they tell us they are. The problems that we are seeing are not caused by, it's that issue of causation being caused by other things that are outside the human control. That is a cycle, it's cyclical. It's basically weather. Weather is cyclical. And we're now entering something called the solar minimus or solar de minimis, which is the minimum period of heat that is generated by our atmosphere from the sun. And it's caused by a cycle. It's a cyclical thing. Now, the distance to the sun does never change on their model, but the intensity of the light should therefore be constant, but it's not. It's following a cycle. So that's a good heliocentric debunk.
If we're taxed on it, then it's wrong.
Yeah.
So the car that you drive causes pollution, but it's not a problem.
Depends on how you define pollution.
It's not like we were driving Vauxhall Vivas from 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, even a Range Rover now that guzzles gas, it commits less crime environmentally than what cars from the late 70s, early 80s did. I mean, you don't see buses driving around anymore that are put like full of black smoke everywhere because all that's being trapped. But it's the black smoke, the pollutant that is in the black smoke, the carbon, the particles of the carbon that's the issue when it's in the atmosphere. I agree the pollution is to do with the opacity of the atmosphere, but it's not to do with the gases that we're told that we're emitting into the atmosphere that's depleting the ozone layer, as they say. It's called the issue of pollution is the opacity of the atmosphere, but no more. It's where it stops.
Well, I understand your point about cyclical natures of things, but equally, I do think that the pollution that humans cause is a major contribution to problems we experience.
Well, what I find interesting about your question is do you not understand the reality of the manufacturing of the products? So you've got supply and demand. So if we're talking about the fact that we have pollutants with either plastic bottles or vehicle emissions, I've got a great solution. Stop producing vehicles and stop producing plastics. That's not going to happen. So then shut the hell up that we've got an environmental problem so you can control us more by taxation. It's all a game. It's all a game. If there's a problem with our emissions and there's a problem with our environment because of what we put into it, then stop producing those things. But they're not gonna.
Not when money
They're not
being
gonna.
made.
No, because those things make them money.
Yeah,
So what they do is they keep producing those things, and then they regulate us to use them.
I'll give you a really
it.
good example of hypocrisy of its upper level, right? You're not allowed to, in England now, in my local area, they're bringing in this thing that you're not allowed to burn. Like things that are like burnable. Like just say you had a load of newspapers looking around. You're not allowed to burn them because of the emissions that come out without paying for a license. But if you pay the money for the license, they'll let you do it. Well, isn't the point of it to stop you from doing it in the first place?
Yes, correct. And it's the same with the paying the tax on plastic bags in the supermarket. If you pay the tax, you can pollute. It's a nonsense.
It's literal. It's
Yeah, but
hypocrisy.
that's a tax on polluting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, tax on polluting, but it doesn't stop the pollution.
Well, it's reduced the amount of plastic bags in the UK.
No, you just prepared to pay a tax for it, and you can then pollute.
If I pay a tax, I've got permission to pollute.
Correct.
Who's giving me that permission? Jimmy, who's giving me the permission to pollute if I pay the tax?
The government.
Exactly.
Do you still buy 5p bags?
You're one step closer to being an anarchist.
So it's cool for the same people that want to tell me I can't pollute to make me pay. So for the allowance to pollute, that's cool for you, Jimmy?
Well, not really. I don't use plastic bags at all. I think they're a scourge of society, to be honest. And
Yeah, but that's swerving the question. Answer his question.
What was the question again?
You don't believe that the same people that are telling us that we shouldn't pollute are allowing us to buy licenses from them in order to pollute?
Well, it's the same as smoking cigarettes. They say don't smoke cigarettes, but if you want to, then we're going to tax you.
That's a personal thing. Listen to the question again.
Well, yeah, but it's a personal thing to buy a plastic bag, surely.
No, it's the issues about pollution, not tax. So again, listen to the question again.
The plastic bag isn't a personal issue because if you go to the store and they don't have plastic bags to give you, you can't get one.
Could you re-ask the
just
question?
like Travis said, if you have a problem with plastic bags, don't make them.
Yeah, could the question be asked and let's get an answer from Jimmy?
What the question I asked before?
Yeah, I think it was Chocolate that asked the question.
Yeah, Mark, actually.
Ask the question
Yeah.
again, and let's get Jimmy to respond.
Yeah, the same government agency that is telling you that you can't pollute and what would fine you for polluting will accept that you pay them for a license in order to be able to pollute, and you don't see that as a problem.
Well, you could look at it like petrol or diesel cars, or for example, they tax you on that, but equally they subsidize electronic cars.
Yeah, but you've not answered the question.
Kind of have.
No, you've not. The issue is about pollution, right?
Yeah.
And the preventative measures to reduce the amount of pollution is to tax people that pollute. So if you then pay a little premium, you can then pollute.
And then I mentioned that they subsidize a more clean approach to using cars.
Right. So the question is, do you think it's acceptable to pay a tax just to be able to pollute?
I think it's acceptable that they charge you 5p to use a plastic bag that won't be used again. Yeah.
Well, why is it not better to stop the production of plastic bags completely?
I think that's the overall objective, Anthony.
No, I think they're just taxing you for pollution and nothing more. If they can make money out of pollution, they will do.
Jimmy, these Tesla cars that go on electric are heavily subsidized for the wealthy elites to be able to afford them, but it's the common people like you and me who are paying for that subsidy. It's a rigged game.
You could equally buy a Nissan Leaf. Admittedly, it's an expensive car, but that's a more affordable car.
But who's paying for the
5p bag tax?
Yeah.
Maybe. Sorry, just to draw a comparison. So, Mark, if I can grab Mark's attention, just because I know you know some on this subject. So, the Protestant Church was formed because of this reason.
Sorry, I don't quite get what you said there.
So they're protesting against, I can't remember the term, it's like indulgences or whatever, where they pay for their sins.
That's right. Yeah, you pay to get out of hell by paying the priest.
Right. So, in other words, you do something wrong, rape, murder, kill, steal, whatever, and with a big enough amount of money, it's justified by the priest. So the priest says, it's okay to pollute our precious planet. Give me 5p. That's what the priest says.
Correct. Yeah.
Planet then, mate.
No, obviously not.
It's a little joke there. Come on.
I'm talking in the third person about what a priest says.
Okay. So.
Yeah, the Protestant Reformation came out of the indulgences that you can pay your way into heaven.
Oh, it is called an indulgence. I did have the term right then.
You did. That's right. Yeah. And these priests are humans. They were born naked and they'll die naked, but they want their money during their lifespan to convince you that you're going to go to heaven because you paid them money.
Well, that was a Catholic church.
Yeah, the Catholics. Sorry? Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that was the Catholic Church in the 1500s. Yeah, the people woke up to the scam, but there's a scam going on at the moment. You can pay taxes to the government so that you can pollute.
Okay, so does any of the panel use plastic bags that cost 5p?
We don't have an option. If I want to buy sliced ham, it comes in a package.
We do have an option. We do have an option because when I was younger, I used to go to the library before we had the internet, and the library used to have these biodegradable bags that were yellow with a bit of print on them, but they felt like a bit like suede-y. They felt like a bit of suede rather than plastics, like smooth, shiny plastic. So it felt funny to the fingers. But they can make biodegradable plastic bags because we used to have them at the libraries.
They used to. Are they available today?
That's what I buy, biodegradable ones.
Yeah, that should be the norm.
The option is don't pay a 5p and bring your own bags.
Jimmy, that's very noble. I support you in that 100%.
Well, that's the thing we're talking about here. You can pay 5p for a plastic bag, or you bring your own, and that's the whole point of the initiative, surely.
But why would it not be the better alternative to provide biodegradable bags that they can do, and then there's no problem?
Because you have to shift over industries from this previous uses of plastic, and it takes time. You can't just go, right, we're banning all these things.
No. All the government would have to do is write a law and say, as of the 1st of whatever month, this is now the law, and prosecute the companies the same way that the individual gets prosecuted for, say, speeding or seatbelts. Just make a law. That's what they do. That's what they should do. That's what they can do. That's what they need to do.
That's what they're going towards.
Oh dear, Anthony, we don't need Westminster to live. We can just use our own common sense.
Yeah, but the point you made, Mark, was that we don't have any other choices, but we do, but we're not getting that choices. They can choose to put biodegradable bags into circulation, but they choose not to.
That's not the issue. You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
You
You
can
shouldn't
buy
put a
biodegradable bags, and you can buy your own bags and take them shopping if you want to.
Yeah, but Mark's point was
Yeah,
that we
like
don't
like,
have
like
to sell.
that is becoming a thing because like places like Whole Foods, they'll they'll give you bags like not plastic bags but like cloth bags and shit like that, and they'll actually discount you if you bring your own bags to the store, so that you're not taking new bags out of the store.
The discount subsidised.
Say that again.
So they're subsidising people who bring their own bags in.
Something like that. Yeah.
Who's subsidizing
Like
it?
And charging less people are less organised.
Who's subsidizing you?
Supermarket.
The government.
Well, I wouldn't say subsidizing, but either way they're giving you like a slight discount because you're using bags that you brought yourself.
I'd class that as a subsidy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I mean it's becoming a thing. But like Riley's saying, they could just make I mean it's 2018. They can make biodegradable bags for everything. The problem is why don't they?
They do. We sell them in the shops. I got biodegradable bin bags. You get ones for the waste, like the food and stuff. They're biodegradable, the green ones. I don't know if you have them over in America.
Awake Souls has just said, so this is a bag debate channel. It does sound that bit, to be fair. I thought this was a flat earth channel and flat earth debates.
We had to take care of our flat
listen.
earth.
Well, I've got a question for Anthony.
Just before you do, I'll bring clarity. Someone else, I think it was Mercury Messenger. What happened to you moderating a flat Earth debate? Is this a pollution debate? Global warming? I would assert that we don't have global warming because we don't have a globe. This is just a tangent off that subject. That's how this began. Sorry for those who have a short attention span like Mercury Messenger who couldn't keep up with the conversation or where it spanned from flat Earth.
Excellent point, Nathan.
But could I just wanted to say one thing because I have been talking to another flat earther past few days. Anyway, he will be coming on tomorrow, and he's going to be talking about his laser experiment. So I think to accommodate him, I think Nathan said he was going to start the show a little bit earlier tomorrow, so an hour earlier than normal. D-Marble.
Ooh,
cool. So he'll be coming on tomorrow to talk about talk about his laser test and all the stuff that he's been doing over there.
Excellent. Can't wait to chat about that.
Can I ask Anthony a flat earth question?
You can, but I'm just going to do one plug before you do. So later on this evening, about 4 hours from now, 8 p.m. UK time, Zach and myself will be talking about psychopathy and flat earth. So if you want to join us for that, I'll stick an advert up as soon as this show has finished. Hopefully you'll join us there. So 8 p.m. UK time, Zachary Zabala, otherwise known as Good Times for All, and myself chatting about psychopathy. That's all.
My question is to Anthony and the panel, to be fair. You can answer it by saying, I don't know, which is fine. How did tides work on a flat earth?
I mean, work. How do they work? What do you mean by work?
How do you explain tides on a flat earth?
Okay, what do you mean by explain? What are you fishing for? Be more direct. What exactly are you fishing for?
Well, we experience tides on our reality.
Yep.
In flat earth reality, how is that explained?
Well, we experience them the same. They're just as we experience them. That's why I said, what are you fishing for exactly?
Okay, what causes tides on a flat earth?
Giant pink unicorns jumping in the ocean miles away send waves in, and it's just the natural physics that the waves that are on top overflow the waves that are underneath, and you get the rotation of the waves at the beach.
Farcical
But
answers
Travis,
aside,
you forgot.
he said what causes them. So
yeah, unicorns jumping in the ocean miles and miles away.
Is that the best flat earth, Scott?
If I was to try and establish
sharks.
Do you know how you establish cause and effect relationships?
Are you asking me?
No, the person who's asking me what causes, or the panel, what causes tides, I'm asking, if you wanted to establish a cause and effect relationship, what would you do, Jimmy?
To establish a cause and effect relationship?
Correct. What would you do? What process or method would you apply if you wanted to establish cause and effect?
Jim, you're going to go down the scientific method route or something like that, you normally do?
You tell me. I'm asking you. You're asking us what the cause is, and I'm saying, how do you establish cause?
And what you're trying to do is not answer my question and then change it into something
Not
else.
at all.
I asked
I'm
a
trying
simple
to
question.
clarify terms. That's what I'm doing. So I'm saying, if you want to know the cause of something, what would you do if you wanted to know the cause?
I don't understand the question, sorry, Nathan.
How do you establish a cause and effect relationship? How do you establish the answer to your question? How would we go about answering it? Do you know how we would go about answering it? If you do, tell us, how would you go about establishing the cause of something?
I don't know the answer to that. I asked a simple question.
Okay.
No one's answered.
Well, give us your answer. How do you establish the cause of tides?
From my understanding, it's to do with the moon.
Sorry, not from your understanding. How did you get to the cause? Don't just assert it. How did you establish that cause?
How did I establish that cause?
Correct.
From reading stuff.
Reading things doesn't establish causes of stuff. Reading does not establish a cause. That's just reading.
The opinion of other people.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. So what other people's opinions do you think explains tides and a flat earth?
Well, we had one. It was about unicorns. Did you not hear it?
So let me just get it straight. To all the flat earthers out there, the best you guys have got is unicorns.
It's the same as you just saying it's the moon unless you establish a cause and effect relationship. I'll give you the answer. Science establishes cause, not reading. Okay?
Yeah. People's understanding over millennia.
No. It's not an understanding. It's establishing cause and effect. You asked for the cause, so I'm saying, how do you establish that cause? Your answer was, I read something about it. Well, that's not very good when we have something that actually establishes cause. Science.
Okay.
So do you have any of that? Because that's what establishes cause, son. Science. So do you have any scientific evidence for what causes tides or not?
I don't think I have to.
You don't think you have to? You can just read it in a book and tell us that that's how it is?
Well, I'm ignoring that for the moment, Nathan. I'm asking you a question about tides and the flat earth.
Right. I don't have any scientific evidence for the causation of tides.
Okay. Have you any theories how it could work?
Why? Who cares? It's just a story. If you don't establish cause through systematic experimentation, it's just a fairy tale. Something you read in a book that somebody asserted once. Meaningless.
Yeah, I read here, popular modern-day flat earther Eric DeBay simply repeats these old ideas. A huge whirlpool vortex surrounding the Mount Meru at the North Pole, which reverses direction every 6 hours, alternatingly sucking in and pushing out the great seas of the earth. Would you go along with that?
No, sounds like another fairy tale.
Okay, have you got anything else that can explain tides?
Sorry, did you not hear me say, I don't have scientific evidence for causation when it comes to tides?
Okay, if you can't answer it, that's fine.
Neither can you.
Excuse
me, Jimmy, neither can you.
Fair enough.
Okay, so this is a pointless conversation where you can't prove it and we can't prove it. Is that your point? That you can't prove it, but you've got a just so story about the moon? What's your just so story about the moon got to do with anything then? I don't get it. Did you think that was proof of something, your just so story?
No, it's an understanding.
It's not an understanding. How many times have I got to say it? Understanding something would be establishing its cause through science. You have a just so story. That doesn't give you an understanding, it gives you a story.
Okay.
Okay. So you're happy with a story. So your fairy tale explanation for what causes the tides is good by you, is it? Not seated in science, hasn't been validated, is not the cause.
I mean, the fact that there is one and you don't have one speaks volumes, would you not say?
Say that again.
The fact that there is an explanation and you guys don't actually have an explanation.
Neither do you. Neither do you. You're saying because there's a fairy tale out there, what, that makes it the most valid explanation? No. Doesn't work like that. Just someone coming up with a fairy tale. That's why you were explained about the unicorns, to draw attention to the farcical nature of making up a fairy tale to explain something.
You could have easily just said we don't have one.
We don't have scientific evidence. Neither do you.
Would it be more acceptable to you, Jimmy, if we had some type of story that we can give you?
Well, just something that would explain.
Even if we couldn't prove it.
Well, something.
Would that be more?
It would be a start.
No, it wouldn't. That's our point.
It would be a start.
Yeah, if you had something
Not a
that
start.
you
A start would be to presume a cause, right? And you do that with a very special kind of prediction called a hypothesis. That's what would be a good start. Not to come up with a fairy tale. That's not a start.
Okay.
And Jimmy, I understand that the fairy tale that you believe it's backed up by other fairy tales. So I get why it might be hard to try to understand that we don't believe that.
That's fair.
That's the problem.
Believe it. I just thought you might have heard another flat earther saying, this is how I think tides work, for example, where you've explained how the sun and the moon work, kind of, and that's in
so that would be cool, because trust me, I would love to know how the tides work.
So you
I'm
thought you'd
just
come
not
along
going to sit
with
here
a
and
straw
assume
man.
that I know that
Nice.
they work off of gravity off the moon.
Which is what I said from the start. If you don't know, that's fine.
Neither do you. You don't know either. But you've got a
So
whole
that's
bunch
fine as
of
well.
fairy tales to tell us, though, haven't you, about the moon?
That's the current understanding.
It's not understanding. I've said it 3 times. This is where Mark might get off the hook when he says I've had enough. You won't get off the hook when you keep reasserting that you have an understanding of something. You have a fairy tale, not an understanding.
That's a fairy tale in your opinion, just to clarify.
No, it's not an opinion, right? You establish cause through systematic experimentation, not reading fairy tales.
It's a belief.
Okay, that's not my opinion.
Oh, that was Jose. I was telling Jimmy, it's a belief what he has. It is because he believed the narrative, the interpretation that was given to him.
And
That's
you
it.
guys
He
don't
just
have a
believes.
narrative.
Say again, Jimmy. Sorry.
I'm saying, no problem, Nathan. I was saying, and you guys don't have a narrative, which is fine. And you maybe look into that and how can we explain this on the flat earth?
With
Okay,
science.
so you were given
why do you need
story,
with
and
flat
you just
earth at the
believe
end?
it. I don't need
Sorry,
one.
Chocolate, to interrupt you. Why do you need to tag on how do we explain this on a flat earth? Why do you need to tag that on when I've already told you if you want to establish the cause of something, then you apply science.
Okay.
Yeah. So off you
Jimmy,
toddle then.
where do you live, Jimmy?
In England.
And how many tides do you observe
I don't live near sea.
a day? So why are you talking about this?
I was asking a question, that's all.
No, but you're talking as though
predicted to myself that you wouldn't have an answer, which is fine, which is why I started off by saying you don't have to answer.
Does England have 2, 3, or 4 tides per day?
Don't know.
You talk a lot of nonsense then. Why are you talking about tides when you don't even know how many tides England experiences per day?
I was asking tides on the flat earth.
You're asking
live
us
in
to
England.
explain something you don't understand, though. That's Mark's point.
Don't need to understand it.
Jimmy, you're
I'm
full
trying
of...
to show the lack of information that you guys have and understanding and certain things you cannot explain.
Jimmy, we love to see you coming in, but you're full of bull. You're not experienced or an expert in any of the subjects you bring up.
Never said I was.
Okay, well, we shouldn't really be humouring you with any of your questions, should we?
What it is that Globers like Jimmy like to establish when flat earthers don't have a concrete explanation for something. They get off on that.
More mushy explanation, I think. You don't want a concrete.
Say that
more
again.
mushy than concrete, I'd say.
How many tides do the Great Lakes have?
No,
Say that
what
again?
I'm saying is you guys get off when we don't have an explanation for something.
Say that again, was.
I'm not sure, but isn't water becomes like magnetic when with salt? It gains magnetic properties.
it gets an electrical charge.
Yeah, wouldn't that work like tides? Wouldn't that like because we know we have a magnetic field, right? And wouldn't that cause the tides?
Well,
It
yeah. I mean, you can
might
demonstrate that if you put a magnet next to salt water, you can cause an effect on the water. Yes, absolutely. But again, it's like earlier when we were saying, well, if you say you've got an axle on a car, therefore you extrapolate that out, you've got axial rotation. Well, you're kind of doing the same thing. If I can show that there's a small effect if I put a magnet next to salt water, then it must ultimately mean that we scale that up and magnets are causing the tides. Now, it's a possibility.
Right. Definitely a possibility.
Anybody
But
want
I
anything?
mean,
until we know that, we don't say that we know that, and that's where the Globers have a problem. Because
yeah, I just said it so that give it something else to Jimmy to think about. You know, like there's other stuff that can explain.
Okay, well, we'll just see where we're at with Jimmy. So, can you hear me, Jimmy? Are you there?
I'm there. Yeah, I'm here.
Does the moon control the tides?
I would say so. Yes.
Excellent. With that, I will say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you on the next fantasy-riddled Flat Earth debate.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!